think we are all in some way getting used to what Pope Francis has encouraged us to do, which is part of the synodal journey. And as Easterners, myself being an Easterner, synodal journeys are not that unfamiliar to us. We had a similar diocesan assembly a couple of years ago where people can speak boldly and freely. But I think the real difference, and it was something I really tried to capture in my role as chairperson for the opening day, is this whole assembly and the process of it is one large prayer.
The conversations, and really, I think as each day is building, there is a sense of the depth and something emerging. Now, what that emerging obviously is the gift of the Holy Spirit, working in the assembly, working in those conversation groups. So it's quite interesting to experience this building within us, and perhaps some particular themes beginning to build or to be articulated.
I think the Holy Spirit was in the hurt, but also with the hurt, in some way creating and opening up what could be a spirit of truth and a spirit of healing. There's a sense where I think the Spirit is two things. She's both wild and she's free. So the reality of me trying to capture her is a bit risky. But I think the Spirit is where the hurt is, and where the hurt is both within people that are recipients of abuse and are survivors, but I think there's also hurt within the church. There's a sense of not only are those that the church hurt, but there are church people that continue to remain within church having been hurt themselves.
I don't think any church or anybody can move forward unless in whether it be in their own personal spiritual growth, but in the growth of the church, without dealing first with the past. I think it's really important that we don't think of it as just being something in the past. There are still people in the church now that for various reasons experience hurt, who may feel that while they're in the church, I mean, we know that there's that many people have left the church, and they didn't leave the church for nothing. So I think that as it's essential, if we expect to grow as people of God, we must continue to acknowledge the hurt that people may be feeling in their lives, and that might be in the past, but also in the present as well.
I feel very humbled and honoured to be part of them, and particularly even the first day, there was this discussion around how Indigenous listen, and there was a reflection on the gospel, but they said we listen with our hearts. And it was a real challenge to enter this space very differently, to take the time to listen respectfully to the story of faith, which is so intertwined. And I think particularly I've been challenged by hearing some of the Indigenous speak of not siloing their faith and their history as a people, but in fact for them it's all one.
If you were to say to me, did I have any sense whether the process would get up and would support conversation and interaction, and I think holding what is disparate views and a whole range of topics, it has been, for me, an incredibly positive experience.
My hope is that somewhere in all this discussion and conversation, the nuances and the realities of people's lives will be heard. And I think as the days go, some of the real hard questions of people who have felt marginalised by the church in different ways, the hopes of the church for mission and formation, all these things are coming together. So I feel really, at times, I feel like I'm in the boat, you know, with everyone, And sometimes the water's a bit calm, sometimes it gets a bit challenging and stormy. But the trust is through this process, which is very different to the way we normally meet. I think there's something reassuring that we are together and the Holy Spirit is uniting us.